So, let us begin. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, our nation finds itself in great turmoil. With an economy that is stagnant, with 15 million people unemployed, with an environment on the verge of crisis, and a decade-long war with no end in sight, it seems difficult to decide how and which of these problems we should attack first. Although Devin and I agree there is no silver bullet that will fix all of these problems, we do believe that education will help us, this generation, and further generations cope with this problem. Therefore, Devin and I stand resolved that federal spending on education should take precedence over all other types of federal spending. I'll give you a few definitions before I continue. When I say federal spending, I mean the sum of government expenditures on final goods and services. When I say that's by Merriam-Webster's dictionary. When I say education, I mean in a contextual definition, I mean primary education, I mean elementary. Secondary, I mean middle school and high school. Post-secondary, I mean college and postgraduate. And when I say precedence, I mean priority, first in rank. And when I say literacy, by the definition by the National Assessment of Adult Literacy, I mean using printed and written information to function in society, achieve one's goals, and to develop one's knowledge and potential. Now on to the major claims. First and foremost, we believe that increased spending on education will help get the economy back on a sound footing. We believe this because it will give us a more educated workforce, and in today's economy, a knowledge economy, that is the greatest asset that any employee has, his knowledge. You can sell that more than your bronze, your steel. It is at the forefront of today's economy. Also, today, college education is a prerequisite for any middle-class job. You're not going to get a well-paying job without a college education. And anyone who's familiar with economics will tell you that 70% of our GDP is made up by consumerism. And the backbone of consumerism is the middle class. They are the ones who consume. So without a heavy middle class, without an educated workforce to make up this middle class, our economy will not be able to pick up. Also, investment in research facilities and education also leads to new building. It leads to new jobs being available. It leads to new machines being built. It acts as its own stimulus by itself. $1 does not end at the register. It continues and it flows money throughout the economy. Our second major claim, increased spending on education will help drop crime rates. There is a very huge correlation between poverty and illiteracy. It is said that 48% of adults living under the poverty line have level 1 literacy. That means that they can barely read and write. So, and compared to 4% of those people living under the poverty line are at level 5 literacy. So that means that they are educated like us, that they can read and write. And that is according to begintoread.com/research literacy statistics. So you can tell that there's a huge discrepancy between literacy and illiteracy. So when you have literacy, you tend to be able to get out of poverty. And poverty and crime are heavily correlated as well. So if you're able to be literate and you're able to have a middle class job, you have a good education, there's a much higher opportunity cost of committing crimes because you have better chances, more opportunities to have better employment. There's no reason to join street gangs. There's no reason to commit petty crimes if you have a better chance of succeeding in a well and fair earning job. And finally, increased spending on education will help the U.S. compete on a global scale. On the recent TIMSS, which is Trends in Mathematics and Science study, the U.S. scored behind Korea, Japan, and China, and India in 8th grade mathematics and science. So we are falling behind to these countries in mathematics and science, which is at the forefront of ingenuity, which is at the forefront of innovation, which is what we as Americans pride ourselves on. And if we do not succeed in being the best at this, the American dream, the American ideal will continue to falter, and we cannot allow this to happen. We need to spend more money on our education. We need to have our children grow up to be the smartest and the brightest in the world, and the only way we can do that is to increase spending on education. Thank you.
Take 30 seconds, please.